Thank you. So thank you, Sal, for the introduction, and thank you everybody for joining this webinar and for having the patience to let's say not look at all these technical problems we have today with the webinar. So my part is to discuss a bit and show you what you can take from the SCIS, why it's useful for you for now and for years to come. So I want to start first by saying, or let's say repeating a bit what Charles said, that SCIS is not a standalone project, but it's part of a larger group of EC initiatives. And here you can see some of them. All these initiatives have of course, a common goal to promote climate action, to promote a better environment, to promote sustainability in Europe. And so you can see that we're talking about the EIP-SCC, the big transport mobility initiatives, digital initiatives, but also green energy initiatives. And to make it even more clear, I would like to talk a bit about what is the context, especially in the smart cities initiatives. Because you can see, according to the European Commission, smart cities mainly consist of three things, of course: mobility, built environment, and ICT, and a lot of horizontal challenges. And then we have these lighthouse projects that most probably you know, at least 40 cities as lighthouse cities and almost 100 cities as follower cities are trying to implement or replicate integrated solutions. And then some projects trying to solve, like Express or CityKeys, horizontal challenges. And of course, around this EIP-SCC marketplace, which aspires to become the meeting place of all these projects and solutions. So where does the Smart City Information System fit into that ecosystem? That's maybe a first question that we try to solve. And the idea is that, as we say, we try to be the memory of all these projects. So I mentioned already that we're talking about at least 10 years of projects, European projects that have taken place. And the big question is, how can we preserve this knowledge? How can we take the data and make knowledge out of that? How can you use it for the years to come in a meaningful way and really replicate the best practices? The technology is there, we know it. Many good examples around Europe are there. So the question is, can we really do it? Can we really learn from each other? Now, then what is the Smart Cities Information System? We call it an interactive knowledge base. And it's an interactive, of course, because one thing, what I'm talking about is what can you take out of SCIS. But of course, the other thing, and for that you have to wait for 5 minutes for Charles to take back the floor, is how you can help the knowledge base, or how you can make it richer. So my role here is to talk what can you take and how can you take that. So what information can you take from SCIS? And here you can see more or less what you can hope for. We're going back to FP6, starting with Concerto, then FP7. Mainly, we're talking about smart cities and efficient buildings projects, and then Horizon 2020, the smart cities projects. So for all these projects and all this investment, let's call it like that, that the European Union made to fund projects around Europe, we aspire to keep this knowledge, not in the sense that happens right now, websites that die 2 years after the projects are over, but in a central point, but also with some, at least minimum, let's call it like this, processing. So somehow, I think Sarah mentioned it very well. How do you create knowledge artifacts from raw data or reports that are out there already? So you can see two numbers that are very important. We're talking about 69 EU-funded projects, and about 180 locations, which means usually urban locations, of course, that a big project took place, that a solution was tested, and results can be found and shared. And here you can see again a map with where these 179 locations are. And of course, this map is a snapshot from the SCIS website. So you can, when you visit the website, of course, you can click on all these nice pastel-colored markers and find exactly why this location is important for you. So what happens? We talk about knowledge and information. So what can you find there? And what you can find, we call them, for example, experiences, which are what were the lessons learned in these locations or in these cities or from those projects. We know that numbers are fine. Okay, we all want to know how many tons of CO2, for example, a project saved or mitigated or offset it, but that's a very good story. What we really want to know is how a city made it, or what challenges they met, or what obstacles they had, or what did they have to do to enable this change. So you see, that's why we think it's very important, lessons learned, or to read interviews, to listen to podcasts, or watch videos, or read about stories. So the real thing from real people that can explain to you how they did it, and hopefully inspire you, or inspire you from what they did, or inspire you to call them or send them an email and say, look, we found this information about what you did, and we would like to do the same. So can we discuss it? Can we talk how you did it, or how we can do it? And that's what we call the stories. So we tried in this second version of SCIS, as I'll mention, it's the second, let's say, version of the platform, to gather evidence from one or more places and create stories. And here we try not to focus only on numbers, because numbers are technical, numbers are very specific. Not all people are attracted or inspired by numbers, but also to try to see what is the human element, what is the experience of people that worked in a project or really met with a challenge, really put the objective, and then they saw it happen. So, and we think that this is an approach that can help you to take out maybe the difficult technical parts and really find the story behind the project and inspire you or help you do and replicate the same thing. So the main way to do that, of course, all these nice promises that I give you here, is of course to go to the website of SCIS and play around and try to navigate and find all this information. I think the positive thing here is that we have classified all this information and all these examples and all these stories in many ways. So depending on what is also your priorities or your background, you can go and say, okay, I want to find this type of information, or I want to find what this city did, or my interest is in a specific technology or in a specific result. And then this way you can filter in very different ways all this knowledge and get maybe exactly what you want, or get options on what you want to see and learn. And okay, yeah. So it's not a PowerPoint, so my apologies. You should see 4 windows coming one after the other in a very impressive PowerPoint way. But okay, I wanted to say, for example, you can go and see different projects, and then you can see project after project, its characteristics, its results, or you could go and see technologies. So here the focus is not the project, but the technology used. So one project, for example, could have many technologies or the other way around, but it's up to you what you decide. Or you could go and see the experiences, so all these human stories and podcasts and descriptions, if that's what you prefer to do. And of course, you could go, for example, to resources or the library and go and find reports, go and find numbers. And I don't know if I missed something. You see a tab about lighthouse projects, for example, where you can go directly to these. Now, I think with this here, we went up to 15 projects right now. Impressive work happening in all of these. So that's the main way, but you see we hope that you will share this opinion. We think that there is a very rich and diverse way to approach the same knowledge. So depending also on your background or what you're looking at this moment, you could go and find this information and this knowledge and use it. And I want to say that one thing here that we find very, very important, also based on your specific, I'm talking now, personally to the participants, given your profiles of the people that today are with us here, I think it's important also to disseminate this knowledge. If you find it interesting to go back to your members, your colleagues, your friends, I don't know, your ecosystems of companies or maybe academic people and say, look, there is this knowledge base that tries to do this and that, and they have a nice approach and they have all these things. So I think that if we're looking for solutions or inspiration, definitely we can use them. All these positive, of course, words given that you really like what you see there. So here you see a slide that it's only how you can find all this information. Of course, as I said, the main entry point, let's say, is the website. But of course, you have the general email where you can go through the website. You can also subscribe to the newsletter, and you have all the social media platforms below where you can subscribe or follow our activities. And that's shortly, I think, but I hope I cover all the ideas of how you can take advantage and how you can access the knowledge that SCIS is processing and storing in its knowledge base. So thank you from me. I give back the floor to Gabriel.
And now I'm going to give the floor back to Charles for another part dedicated more on what can be done on your side. How can you give some inputs on this website and share also your experience?
Okay, thank you. I'll briefly speak about how you could contribute to this valuable knowledge base of SCIS. Of course, some of you might already be involved in the Lighthouse projects or the EEB projects and already be involved in the SCIS data collection. But for others, there are also possibilities to join that data collection effort. The SCIS platform is equipped with a self-reporting tool in which measurement data, monitoring data of implemented projects can be documented and followed up. For this self-reporting tool and how to use it, SCIS organizes regular training sessions. And if you would be interested in joining these training sessions, I invite you to send us an email to contact us, and then we can tell you what would be the next date and the next webinar to join on the training for the self-reporting tool. You can, of course, use SCIS to promote your projects. If it's not in the initial scope of the SCIS website, you can send us KPIs and stories or just a request that you would like to share these stories on the SCIS website, and then we will organize that. And then, of course, you could also make use of the newsletters. It's a monthly newsletter to share events and stories about your project. One thing maybe to mention here is that we now will have a joint newsletter with another kind of information, well, I would not say platform, but information initiative, which is the marketplace, the EIP Smart City and Communities marketplace. So these efforts are being streamlined from a European Commission point of view, the SCIS and the marketplace, and we will now have a joint monthly newsletter from next month on. Of course, you can contribute to the community building around the platforms of the project coordinators. Join webinars. There are regular webinars organized around findings that we come to after analysis of all the information that has been gathered. So there is a core team working on knowledge building and building these knowledge artifacts, and we organize webinars on that on a regular basis also. So that's worth following too. And of course, you can use all the information on SCIS that is there available as a benchmarking tool to benchmark your project with. Okay, so basically these are the very practical ways I think you could contribute to in a very useful way to the SCIS website. And on my last slide, I recap the contact details. If you want to share some information or know very practically how can I share my data, my information, my stories on the SCIS, please send us a mail at the info email, and we will then together evaluate whether we put it in the self-reporting tool, in the stories, or in the news, in the blog of the website to share and disseminate that information. So that's it for me. I think maybe we can open the floor to questions now, Gabriel.
Yes, thank you very much for this. Like I said in the chat, if you have any questions, you can either write them in the chat and I will ask them to the two presenters, or if you want the floor to present something, to have a longer question, we can also give you the floor and I will activate your mic. So just let us know in the chat. Otherwise, we are reaching the end of our webinar. There will not be any more presentation, but it's more a discussion among ourselves. I do not see anyone typing in the chat, so just if you need to write, if you want the floor, you will have to ask me, and I can activate your mic. I see one person writing in the chat. So the question from Jonas is, what kind of data are you storing and offering within the reporting tool? Maybe Charles would be happy to take this one.
Yeah, I would rather send it to Nicolaus, but I can give a first try to the answer. It's monitoring data in the self-reporting tool. So projects are designed with quantitative objectives to reach in terms of energy consumption, etc., costs. And these objectives, quantitative objectives, are then monitored in terms of actuals that have been reached, usually on a yearly basis. And that is the data that is inputted through the reporting tool. Next to, of course, all standard data about the design of projects, which would be number of dwellings, number of square meters, etc.
Yeah, you can hear me. Okay, I can add to what Charles said, that if I understand correct the question, we're talking about data in a macro scale, let's say. So we're not talking about. I mean, if we are talking about the energy renovation of a building, we don't talk about data, for example, in the level of an apartment or something like that. I mean, it's not data that would ever fall under GDPR or something like that. It's more like project-wide data and results.
Okay, I don't know if there is another question from someone else on if you are running yourself a project, maybe that's would be interesting to communicate about it and to share it with more people, and SCIS would be the right tool for that. So if you have any questions, please. We'll leave a little minute for someone to write or take the floor. Otherwise, we will end this webinar, and we will, of course, be available for any questions via email or directly on the website. I do not see anything in the chat, so I will assume there is nothing else to share, and everything was crystal clear during this webinar. And like I said, if there is any question, we are always available via email. You have all the information in the slides that we will share on the page where the recording of this webinar will be available in the coming days. All the contacts are here. It's free for you to contact us and to share your story with us, your data, and we can make sure it's made public there and shared with a big smart city community. Thank you very much to our two speakers. And again, if there is no additional question, I see one person writing. No, not writing anymore. I will close this webinar. Okay, thank you very much to you. And don't hesitate to contact us whenever you need it. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, everybody.